Hey there, everybody. Welcome to Daily Walk. This is Amanda,
I'm Lenny.
and we're here on a Sunday evening. It's been a while since we've uploaded a video with summer break and all. It was a little bit challenging to get a steady, set schedule. It's easier, when the kids are in school and you kind of have a set schedule when, everybody has to get everything done and get in bed.
It has been busy, hasn't it?
At a certain time, so
Real busy trying to find a moment for anything.
school starts back tomorrow for our kids, so we are able to have a little bit of a moment right now. So we're going to take advantage of it.
Okay. So, anyway, glad you're back with us and glad we're back with you. A lot's been going on lately in the news. You hear of, you've been hearing a lot of people passing away.
Yeah.
And it's just made me think, how are we going to be remembered? Because just about everybody you hear pass away, you hear something about them. They were known for this, they were known for that, or they accomplished this, or they did that. And especially when you get into, figures that have a big influence on society. You see the influence they left behind, maybe things that people's going to remember for years and years to come.
Right.
So, I was thinking, how are we going to be remembered? What are we going to leave behind, or how's people going to remember us? And it's something to think about. You know what?
Yeah.
And how's people going to remember you? How's people going to remember me? And it's important.
Yeah.
It's very important to just think about that and try to leave behind, the most, the best influence you can, the best, name, the best, life that you can for other people to remember, because they're going to remember something.
They will remember something about you, whether or not you know it. You will be remembered by most of the people you've come in contact with in some way, and it's hard to keep that kind of in the daily remembrance of your goings on. But I try really hard to make it a hinge point on my decisions, because my family members especially, that would my decisions could be reflected back on them, and I don't want to tarnish anyone's name by my own actions. So
especially if you got young kids.
Yes.
They're growing up in society, and they'll be known by us.
yeah.
Oh, I remember your mom, I remember your dad, or
Yeah.
something along the line.
Mhm.
One thing, just everyday things you hear is maybe on the job you hear of a boss that might have been there, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, a year ago, or 20 years ago, and people might say, oh, that was the worst person, they were so mean, they were, that stuff carries on.
It does. And people pay attention.
And you might not know them, but people that you work with might know them.
Yeah.
So, just everything we do, like I said, work or home or, school or sports or where we are, what we do, where we go, we're leaving behind some kind of memory
Right.
of who we are, how we acted, how we carried ourselves, It's, and I've said this even in, maybe you're, preaching somewhere or delivering a message. One of the most worst things I've ever heard anybody say is, it's my life, I'll do whatever I want.
Yeah.
And that's true. It's your life. You can do whatever you want. But whatever we do affects somebody somewhere in our life.
Mhm.
They think it's their life, they can do whatever they want. It's not affecting anybody, but it does. It affects everybody around them. It affects even people they might not even know.
Yeah. It's like a ripple.
Mm-hmm. So It's just something to think about, just how important our daily walk is, you know, to us, to our family, to our friends, to our workplace, or wherever it may be, our church, or whatever we're involved in. Is so important. When we're gone from this world, when the Lord calls us home, and that we're not here anymore, you know, everybody's going to leave behind a testimony or a story.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of times we see people and, you know, we wonder about the way they're acting, the way they're talking, or the way they're dressed, or whatever it is. But we don't know that person's story. And that's why I think the Bible talks about not judging people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because we don't know that person. We don't know how they grew up, what kind of family they came from, or
Right.
what kind of influences they had, or, you know, anything like that. So that's why we can't judge people, because we don't know their story. 'Cause I've got one, you've got one, we all have a story. Some was maybe easier than others. Some were, you know, maybe raised in church, maybe some of us wasn't. There's so many, you know, varieties of our lives that it's made a story out of it, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one thing to think about is what kind of testimony we're leaving behind, you know, what kind of story we're leaving behind about us. You know, what will your story be, or mine, or what would we want it to be?
Yeah, I think
It's a good question.
every day we have a new opportunity to shape our legacy. We have an opportunity to change the trajectory of, you know, how we will be remembered, and it's awful to think about, you know, being gone and having to face that reality is tough, but it is reality, and we're all gonna have to face it. You know, we will leave this earth one way or the other, and it's better to face that sooner rather than later, because the sooner you realize that you can alter people's perspective of you, the better. The more opportunity you have to change it.
You know, we all maybe have a thought of what we want our life to be like, and we want it to be how we want to be known, I guess, you know, when we do leave here. I mean, some people sort of rewrite history. You know, they might invent something. They might, you know, be a great NFL player. They might be, a great, teacher, preacher. They might be a great surgeon. So, I mean, there are so many, different ways that people can leave stuff behind. And you might think, well, I really don't have anything to leave behind. I've not done this. I've not really done a lot. But in the end, we are leaving something behind. Everybody's going to leave behind an influence. We're going to influence somebody, either good or bad.
Yep.
We watched that movie a while back that how his friends influenced him into getting into things that he shouldn't have been in.
Right. Yeah, we were watching The Blind, and that's the story of Phil Robertson. If you haven't seen it, we thought it was a great movie.
It was.
It was just, telling how he changed his legacy in such a drastic way, from a negative one to a positive one, and the altering factor being Jesus. So.
Well, it shows you how our stories can flip.
Yeah.
We might be living one life or one story. Next thing you know, it's on, flipped upside down.
Out of the
Now we're
darkness and into the
living-
light.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And man, what an opportunity we have to really leave a good influence with other people, that's around us. And
Yeah. And now his name, when you think about Phil Robertson, for instance, you don't think about all of the past that he left behind when he gave his life to Christ. You don't think about that first. You think about his impact on the world through Duck Dynasty and his ministry.
I didn't really think about it until
Yeah.
Later in life when he started in the ministry and
Yeah.
watching some of his videos and man, what a great opportunity he had to leave an influence with so many people.
Yeah. And he thought
Many
nobody
people.
would care about their little life, but how many lives has his life impacted in a positive way? So that's just one example of all the people that we've had to grieve the loss of over the last year, just in general. So many faces that we've come to see on TV all the time. They're just their families are having to kind of reminisce in their legacy, and that's what we're trying to impart to you, is the knowledge that if you don't have a very good influence or impact in the world, you can change that today, and Jesus can make that change in you, and you'll be impacting other people whether you realize it or not. You'll be making a change. You'll be sharing the light, because when you have Jesus and you have the Holy Spirit in you, you carry a light that just shines, and you can't you can't really what is the word I'm looking for? You can't really hide it, because it's just there. It shines, and people see it in you. They don't really know what it is, but we know what it is.
Well, and when you start looking at somebody like that, you're thinking, okay, well, that person was able to reach thousands or millions of people, and you think, well, I can't do that. But in the teaching of the Bible, it talks about the one leaving. And what does it say? He left 99 and looked for the one. So if we reach one, or if we influence one person in a good, positive way, what
Then
a great
it's worth
opportunity
it.
that is.
Yes.
Yeah. We're gonna leave behind a good or a bad name.
Yep.
Like I said, I hear about people that maybe at a workplace that was just terrible bosses, terrible to people. I mean, that's a bad name. Now to the family, they might let a good name, but in the outside of the family in the workplace, they left a bad one. So it's important what we do everywhere we are.
And another point, like, say someone has a really, really good name, and that can transition to you if you know them and have good standing with them, and they'd be like, oh, you are friends with so and so, or you relate with so and so, so I trust you because he's or they are a very trustworthy person. They have a good name, and vice versa. If you have somebody who is not got a very good name,
That's a good point. I didn't thought about that.
It can impact you too. So be careful who you associate with in various ways, because just because somebody doesn't have a good name doesn't mean you don't want to impact their lives in some way, but also let the Lord lead you.
Well, I've met somebody before, and them not know who I am, but I'll say, well, I know so and so, or I'm friends with so and so. Like, oh, okay, and that totally changes their
perspective
their
of you.
perspective of me.
Yeah.
Just because I know that person, or they was a friend of mine or whatever, a
Right.
co-worker or whatever. So, I mean, just something like that.
Yeah.
That quick. Or they might say, oh, I don't like that person. If you
Yeah.
associate with them, I don't want you around either.
Exactly.
They might not say it, but that might be what they're thinking. So.
Right.
But in the end, we will be known by something.
Yeah.
You know, we're all going to be known by something. And Proverbs 22:1 says, a good name is more desirable than great riches. To be esteemed is better than silver or gold. And you know, I was thinking, when we was talking about what we was going to speak about tonight, you know, in the end, it all comes down to the decision that we made in our life, whether to accept Christ, you know, or to reject Him. And to accept Christ is to gain, you know, everything. It's to gain heaven, to gain eternal life, you know, all the things, all the great things that we know that God is about. That's what we have the opportunity to accept. And if we don't, and then we know the results of the rejection. And you know, I was thinking about what we're leaving behind. Some of us might leave behind a great wealth, you know, businesses, homes, you know, whatever we might have built through the years. But you know, once we leave this life, all that stuff is nothing to us no more.
Right.
It's all gone.
It's all gone.
Now we're leaving it to family or, you know, whatever. They're gaining the benefits of it. But to us personally, that doesn't matter no more. It all goes down to the decision that we made whether to accept Christ or reject Him.
Yep.
It's a lot to think about.
And alongside with that, what we did with Jesus. Like, did we share Jesus or not? Because I don't know if I would want to be one to live my whole life as a Christian and have to answer to God about not sharing the eternal gift of life that Jesus has to offer. I don't.
Every day is a gift
I don't want to mess up.
from God. Every day is an opportunity to do something for Him, to be a witness, to be a good influence, to, you know, help others, to witness to others, or whatever God gives opportunity for that day. But every day is definitely a gift from Him, and it's a shame that we waste some of them. You know.
We appreciate you watching and sticking with us. And if you haven't already, like the video and subscribe to the channel if you like content like this. We would love to hear from you. If you want to comment below any prayer requests, we would love to pray for you. Until next time, we will see you all later on the other side of all of this.
God bless.
Bye-bye.
Bye.